And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a small card game from Green Couch Games called Filler. Now this is a pun of sorts. In the board game world, we often call small games that people play before or after the big game of the evening a filler game. So here we go, a filler game. But it's also about making pastries and filling tasty pastries, I guess, with different ingredients, therefore called filler. Any game about desserts is a great theme by me, but let's take a look and see if the game is any good. At the beginning of the game, players are going to pick one of the cooks in the game, and they're going to take that person's 3 cards as well as a reference card. So let's say I picked J. So I would get J's 3 cards here and this reference card. I should mention at the back of each reference card, basically, if you want to play the game solo, it gives you kind of a computerized opponent, and each one of them will play differently. But I have a handful of cards here. This handful of cards has different times on it, and then it also has different ingredients that I would use to fulfill recipes. So on each round of the game, each player is going to pick one card from their hand and put it face down in front of them. You will reveal the cards, and then players are going to go in order based on the time, with the earliest riser going first. The game actually comes with cards here where you can mark that if you want to. So when it's your turn to take an action, you have 2 different actions that you can do. One of the actions is you can restock, which means all the cards in your discard pile, because your time card goes to your discard pile, and other cards you'll use, and you don't get them back until you restock, all your cards go back in your hand. You can also take one of the recipes here and put it on the top of the deck, stopping other people from filling it. The other thing that you can do is you can fill a recipe. When you fill a recipe, you need the ingredients on it. So to do this strudel, for example, I need some chocolate and some berries. So I could pay these 2 cards, because I got chocolate on this one and berries on this one, to do this recipe. That seems like a waste, so maybe instead I might do this custard Swiss roll, where I need a nut and 2 other ingredients. So a nut, chocolate, and I can use the strawberry. And then I might have used this card to do my time. The card that you play for your time, you can't count the ingredients in that. That card is discarded. Once you get a card, that card goes in your hand. Now, why do you want these different cards in the middle of the table? Many of them are going to give you ingredients that you can play in the future. If I win this card, for example, it gives me a 7:33 time, and it gives me ingredients. This one gives me no ingredients, and it's a fairly late time. However, the other thing you're trying to do is get victory points. At the bottom here, you get stars, dollar bills, and trophies. These are all victory points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 victory points I'm holding right here. However, each set of 3, 1 star, 1 bill, and 1 trophy, is worth 2 points. So this card itself, this is a pretty awesome card. It's worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points by itself. And so players are trying to get the most victory points. But these cards will also be added to their hand, and your hand will grow as the game goes by. Once that's done, and only once everyone has gone, do new cards come out. So whoever goes first early in the morning will have more options when filling these recipes. Also, several of the recipes have special bonuses. So for example, this one here, if you fill this recipe, you get to do another one. You get to fill 2 recipes. This one here, if you fill it, also lets you put all your discard cards back in your hand. And then if you want to, you can add the advanced recipes. Some of them you can play with your time to subtract 1 hour from that time. And others are so good that when you get them, you need to take a card from your hand out of the game. As you can see, it's a fairly early time, gives them some ingredients to do recipes, and gives points. This is a pretty good card. That's pretty much it. At the end of the game, which happens when there's no more recipes here to fill in, then players are simply going to look at all the cards that they've collected and score points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. As with Green Couch Games, good quality, very simple, very easy to see. I really like the art. My only complaint about the art is that they reused art a lot of times. So I know that this is the same thing, but I just wish that This is one of those times where I think every card had a different dessert on it because they all look delicious, and I wouldn't mind more of them. But the card quality is very good, and it's very easy. And it's kind of a neat thing here. This ingredient and this ingredient are the same thing, but it's easy to remember this is what you need and this is what you use. You use the jars to fulfill this. And I found that way because the card's going to have both on them, like this one. That doesn't matter, but maybe a card like this one here, I have white and red, and here I have red and brown. Well, which one is the one that you're using? It's these. It's just a simple thing. Also, the points and how they're different on the sides, I found that to be very easy to differentiate between. It's just a deck of cards, essentially, but very well put together. I also like the artwork and the different colors of the various chefs. I think that's really well done. So Filler is a small card game that is what I call a hand-building game. You start with 3 cards, but as the game goes by, you are buying more and more cards. You're going to get more cards. You're going to lose if you don't. There's no points in your initial ones. And as you use your cards, they go in a discard pile, but you can take an action to pick them up. And the game has rules. If nobody buys a card, if 2 turns in a row they get wiped. I haven't seen that happen yet, but it's pretty simple. However, it's very, very almost Knives Out type game because you're going to get really fierce and competitive with your opponents, especially how early you get up. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, and this game certainly points towards that. Having cards with early times on is great because there are times I know you want that card, I want that card, and I want to get up early, and hopefully I have the earlier card. Now, every card, as far as I know, has a different time on it, which is great. So if you start with an earlier time in your starting hand, I feel like you have a slight advantage, but the game is set so that my middle card is earlier than your middle card or what have you. But I might then deliberately take a card that's super early in the morning, not as useful to me in other ways, but just so that I can go first on future turns. But the thing about Filler that I found is that it is so possible to get hung up on building a cool deck and look at I have early times and lots of ingredients and look, this is exciting. I got a really cool hand of cards I can do things with, and you forget to get points because getting points is where the game's about. So Filler walks a very delicate balance of do you want points or do you want to make your cards better? And you want to do both of those, but you got to figure out that if you just do points, you will have no cards and other people's hands will be built better than yours and they'll be able to do better in the second half of the game. And I like that. I like that the game has this nice balance in between. I also like that there's very few special abilities. I think there's 2 in the base game, 2 more in the advanced, so it's really easy to remember what everything does. But man, that whole such fierce competition. I want to buy this card. I know other people probably want to buy it. So when do I play this early card? When do I use this card? I don't care what turn order I go in. When do I pick up my cards? Do I pick them up earlier than other people so that I'm kind of like a step away from them? So when everyone else is picking up their cards, it's my turn to buy. These are small decisions, but they feel tight. And this was a game that had my mind constantly moving the whole time, which isn't really the definition of a filler game. See, the thing about filler is that it feels like a bigger game. I'm not opposed to that at all. I like small games that feel big. And I also think it's neat that, the solo thing is really built well into here with the different AIs of the different characters, the art, the theme. It's a really nice little game. Highly recommend it. Filler. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.